Today, I wanted to talk about law of attraction. Law of attraction is one of those topics that I think people get wrong a lot of the time. When people talk about law of attraction, they generally talk about the spiritual aspects of it, where they're like, well, like attracts like, and you have to feel your way into success. And while I do understand this concept and it does make sense, people don't explain this in a logical way, and I feel like that could help a lot of people actually implement it better. So I wanted to go into more specific detail about how law of attraction works and how you can actually utilize it to create a better life for yourself. So the first thing that I want to talk about is this idea that you have to get your mind right in order to get what you want. Basically, the idea of your goal can only be achieved if you get your mind right. And this kind of feels really woo-woo and abstract. You're like, how's that supposed to work? I'm just supposed to sit in a corner and meditate and then I'm going to manifest my dream life? Like, that doesn't seem very practical. And it isn't. Because law of attraction inevitably requires action of some kind, and that's often something that's missed out when people discuss the law of attraction. Now, I definitely know some people who are like, no, you have to get your mind right and then act with inspired action, but it's actually very rare for people to explain that concept. So law of attraction is not about just sitting in a corner meditating, feeling your way into success. It's about feeling your way into a positive mindset so that you can see opportunity and take action that's actually going to be productive. So it's not as woo-woo or abstract as you're thinking. And it goes along with the idea of, if I want to get X, then I need to get my mind right. But it also shows you how to take that basic concept and translate it into action. So just to go with a very concrete version of this topic, I'm going to talk about building a skyscraper. So everything essentially starts out as an idea. So does a skyscraper. Somebody dreams up the idea that they want a skyscraper in some particular location, and then they have to figure out how to do that. Now let's assume that they buy the land and they figure out all the legal stuff and whatnot. They now have to build the skyscraper. So they have somebody come up with how that skyscraper can look like. They go to an architect, the architect thinks about it for a while, and then they draw up a blueprint. Now, blueprint is an idea written down on paper. So the first manifestation of this skyscraper is just a piece of paper with the idea written down. Next, you have to hire the workers. You have to get the resources. You have to bring them all to the site. And once they're all there, the workers start to build. And you basically have to just let them keep building until the skyscraper is done. Now, that's not to say that you don't manage the process and that you don't run into hiccups along the way, but the basic idea is that in order to get the skyscraper, you first have to have the idea, then you have to have the physical paper or the idea written down, and then you have to buy the resources, or you have to find the resources or whatever, and then you have to allow the process to continue without your interference for long enough until you get the result you're looking for. So if you think about law of attraction, it works in a very similar way. What happens if you run out of money while trying to build that skyscraper? Well, your project doesn't get finished. But when it comes to our lives, what happens when we run out of the resources we need in order to get the results that we're looking for, which is the belief that it's possible? Well, your project is abandoned. So when it comes to achieving the results you want in your life, belief is actually an extremely powerful thing. And I'm going to talk about the three main problem points that you're likely going to run into and how that can be manifest in that particular thing. So not having belief can be detrimental in all of these categories. And the first one is, say, finding love or having meaningful relationships. When you give up on a relationship, there is no hope for a better future in that relationship. You have literally said, I don't believe this relationship can work. I don't believe we can get past this particular marker. And the second you decide you don't believe in that relationship anymore, it is doomed to failure. And unless you choose to believe in that relationship again, it will never improve. So when it comes to finding love or finding the one, for example, you first have to start out with the premise that the one exists and that you will find them. And without that belief, what motivates you to get out of the house, to go and talk to people and have conversations and figure out who you do and don't connect with or resonate with? So belief is hugely important in finding love or building a friendship even, because you have to believe that people actually want to spend time with you, that people actually enjoy talking with you, that people want to spend their lives with you, that they want to grow and learn and have you in their life all the time. That's something vitally important in order for you to find love or romance or friendship or even have good relationships with your family. Because the second you stop trying, the second you stop working at it, that relationship disappears. Because you can't reach your goal if you stop putting resources in. So this is kind of the basic concept of, if you remove the blueprint, you can't really do the rest of it, because nobody else has this idea in their head. You have to have the fundamental piece of information in place. And when it comes to goals, your belief is that fundamental piece. So health-wise, you can only lose weight or get the body that you're looking for if you believe that it's possible. If you didn't believe that you could become buff and strong and be the envy of every man in the country, you wouldn't keep going to the gym and lifting weights, because the return on the investment seems so small. A pound or two of muscle for men, or half a pound to a pound for women, really doesn't seem like much for a month's worth of effort. And when it comes to losing weight, we're talking like 2 to 4 pounds a week maximum, and 4 pounds is considered dangerously high for fat loss. So you have this extremely slow process that we're talking about, and if you don't believe that it's possible, if you jump on the scale on a daily basis and expect the scale to go down, the belief that you actually can lose weight disappears, and then you're left in this situation where you're like, well, I can't lose weight, so why would I diet? Why would I eat healthy? There are foods that I find more enjoyable. I'm just going to enjoy my life. So the belief, the idea that you can lose weight, the idea that you can get the body that you're looking for, is vitally important to your health as well. Now, the third category is money. And this is probably the one where most of us struggle. I'm not really sure why money is such a sticking point for a lot of us, but it certainly seems to be. But when you have this concept of money and you're like, hey, I want to be rich, I want to be free, I want to be able to spend my time the way that I want to, I don't want to have a boss, I don't want to have to account to anybody, that starts out with the belief that you can have that. And most people do not believe that they can have that. Most of us have been raised with this idea that you have to go to a job, you have to have the 9 to 5, you have to have somebody paying you an hourly rate or whatever, and the best way to earn more money is to just move up the corporate ladder. But the realities of that are, there are only so many places at the top of the corporate ladder, and most people, like 50% of the population, is likely going to be stuck at the base level for their entire life, and that can be a very depressing place to be. But if you don't believe there's another way to make money, you're never going to find that other way to make money, because you're not even open to receiving the information. Whereas if you look for other ways to make money and you find more opportunities, if you don't believe people will buy from you, you're going to give up on that as well. So there are any number of beliefs involved in money making, and the number one would be, I can make more money. I can achieve the dream that I'm looking for. I can become financially free. I can have my time back. I can do what I want, when I want, with enough resources that I don't have to worry about it if I'm willing to put in the work. And until you have that belief in place, it's going to be very, very challenging to build a business. And you're likely going to run into any number of other issues as you come along that path as well, because now you're trying to learn a new skill. So just like building the skyscraper, if you don't have the resources and you don't keep putting that into the project, the chances you're going to reach that are non-existent. If you try to drive from California to New York and decide halfway through that it's impossible to get to New York and turn around, you will never reach New York. And that is the same basic concept that Law of Attraction talks about, where you have to believe first that your dream is possible, and then you have to take action to move you toward that goal. And if you can continue to take action and you can continue to learn, the chances you will succeed are basically infinite. You will succeed or you'll die. And while that may not be particularly comforting, I definitely think that it is, because you will eventually run out of ways to fail. You will eventually figure out what path works, and you will get the desired results. But if you give up on yourself, if you give up on the dream, you will never achieve that goal. So if you want a healthy body, you have to keep working toward it, even if you're not getting the results you're looking for. If you want money and time freedom, you have to keep trying to build a business, even if it's not working out right now, because there's no chance you're going to get that dream if you stop. And that's where we need to focus. So stop hurting yourself. Stop shooting yourself in the foot by saying this is a hopeless dream, because the reality is, if you believe it and you keep working toward it, you will achieve your dream. And that is how Law of Attraction works. It's not some ethereal concept. It's not some woo-woo, wishy-washy bit of information. This is actual legitimate fact. It's a way for you to set yourself up, to get your mind working, to support you to create the dreams that you're looking for. So this is how you set yourself up for the success that you want.